the second question is, would you briefly summarize here the main point you made when you met with the key people in Japan? What you educate them?
The main points were, as I said, the existence of deprogramming, which they were not aware of or hardly aware of, and the illegality of such a practice. Then the second point was public welfare, that you cannot dissolve a religious corporation on the basis of public welfare. And the third point was the violation of social norms. You cannot prohibit certain beliefs or certain practices because they would violate social norms. I mean, for example, you cannot say that talking about karma or hell violates a social norm and that it is brainwashing because it exists in other religion. I mean, karma is in Buddhism and hell is in common to traditional religions, and so you cannot say that there is a violation of social norm or brainwashing or infringement of free will because you talk about these things. This doesn't make any sense. And as concerns also donations, you cannot say you violate social norms because this is too much of an amount of donation. Well, I mean, Catholic Church has lots of money and has also, like for example in France, big donations. People give their inheritance to Catholic Church if they wish. And this is no problem because it's a recognized religion. So you cannot treat differently new religions than admitted, recognized traditional religions. This is my point. And I was talking about these things with the people that I met. And this was in the law, they published some guidelines about the interpretation of the law. And they say victims of the church, the definition is actual people who claim presently to be victims, but it also includes in the future potential victims, meaning people who realize in the future that they have been victims actually, because they say mental manipulation. And so they become a victim only when they realize, because due to lawyers' briefing, that they have been victims and that they can sue for finances. So they incite people to be financial, to have a financial motivation and to actually sue the church. This is what it means. Money is just a means to operate. And it is a right under international human rights law to raise donations to maintain religious institutions. This is how you can practice. It's part of the right to practice your religion. Otherwise, you cannot operate. And so the right to proselytize is also a right, because it just means that because it's proper to religion, if you have a faith, you're willing to have others share the same faith. So you're willing to convince other people about it. I mean, it's in any religion has that. It's part of the also expressing your religion. So all these rights appear to be like, as concerned the Unification Church, they are considered as crimes, It's like, it's a crime to try to convince your neighbor, and it's a crime to try to raise donations to have your church operate. Well, these are just normal standards of operation, so this is my point about it. So we are now in a situation where the government has requested the dissolution of the church based on 32 tort cases that were lost by the church in court. But the cases were lost on a vague and arbitrary notion of violation of social norms, and you cannot have social norms in the area of religious matters. Social norms are the opposite of the protection of minority beliefs, you know. So this is a very big problem. So I talk to people about this, and also professor of constitutional law, and you know, the lawyers and all that. And there's a big problem with that notion of violation of social norms, and also a big problem because the government relies on the public welfare infringement. But public welfare is the same idea. Is you cannot restrict freedom of belief because the majority is not happy with your choices. So if public welfare, because they say you have disturbed a lot of citizens by proselytizing with your new church and beliefs and all that. But public welfare, I mean, the United Nations have also recommended to Japan to stop using public welfare to limit freedom of religion or belief. This is antinomic to freedom of religion or belief. Public welfare means you have to go by the majority of thinking in the country in matters of religion, and this cannot be done. So, you know, I spoke with all, and those lawyers and professors in Japan were in agreement with the argument. The only problem is that inside Japan, I got the impression that it's not very known, and so the government does what they want. Now, the government is organizing anti-unification church lectures in schools and universities. So the children, the students, the pupils and the students are under pressure, and there is a new plan that has been adopted by the government in last January 2024, where the plan of the government is to increase these lectures, and they call it human rights classes to children against the unification church. It's plan of the fight against the church. So you can imagine that what they call human rights is actually the right to go against their parents' beliefs, which in international human rights law is not permitted, because parents have the right to educate their children according to their own beliefs. This is Article 18.4 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights that Japan has signed and ratified after Second World War. And so this is part of right to religion or belief. And the parents' rights are violated, and the government is increasing the action to actually get rid of the unification church in Japan. Who are to be judged,
Yes.
the right to private life, the right to religion or belief,